There you go, Kevin.
Oh, there we go. Put on my fancy dancy. Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Kevin Ross Emery. And for those of you who were familiar with New Hampshire Metaphysical, I had bought it a couple of years ago, and I am now finishing up the process of kind of blending New Hampshire Metaphysical into Kevin Ross Emery. I so moving forward, you'll be hearing from kevinrossemery.com on events and things like this. If you are on the New Hampshire Metaphysical list, if you don't want to be on the Kevin Ross Emery list, just opt out. You don't have to say, hey, it's spam or whatever. You're there, and I've been telling you for 2 years that I bought it, so it really shouldn't be a surprise. But some people, they don't read the fine print, even if it's 16 type boldface. That said, today we're going to be talking about spirit guides. I'm going to start with the two panelists, and then I will go last. I will let them introduce themselves, their relationship to the topic, and what words of wisdom they have to share with you. And then we will, after that, we'll be opening up for questions. Any kind of questions or comments you have to say. I say questions, but if you have a different opinion, if you've heard something different, if there's something that you want to share, that's fine. We just ask, all of the people that come on to spiritual interactive panels, we've all talked about the fact we're not always going to agree on everything. Doesn't mean anyone's wrong. We don't need to make anybody wrong. Everybody has a perspective, and everybody here is going to take the perspectives that most resonate to them. If a perspective doesn't resonate to you, leave it alone. Just say, okay, yeah, it didn't resonate to me. No big deal. If it resonates to you, when you share it with other people, say, hey, the other day I was on this SIP panel, this SIP discussion. It was really interesting. And Nancy or Raina or Kevin said this, and it really hit home. Don't be afraid to give us credit for wisdom you get from us, because everybody on this panel is out working as a full-time spiritual practitioner. And so, if something really irritates you, you probably really want to figure out why, because it's triggering something. Because if something doesn't make sense or it doesn't resonate, there's no anger there. If there's anger, it's probably challenging something you need to look at. And reaching out to any, whoever said it, reaching out, deciding at any point to do any work with any of us, we may help you figure out what your anger is about. But this is not the place to take your anger out on. But again, we love various opinions, and nobody on this panel thinks that we know it all, or we have the sum total of all information since the beginning of the most recent universe. We won't talk about the earlier universes. This is not that SIP. So I'm going to start with Nancy. Nancy, tell us a little bit about yourself, your relationship with spirit guides, and then what a bunch of malarkey you think they are. Nancy, you're up.
So I'm Nancy Smith. I am a certified medium. I'm also work with the Akashic Records a lot, so I call Akashic practitioner. You can find me on angelscapes.net. My guides, and I teach people how to connect to their guides and their angels, are all around me, and they're not malarkey, but sometimes I don't pay attention to them, or I don't have a strong relationship. They could help me through so much more than I let them. And I would love to have everyone realize that they have guides around them, all different kinds of guides, 7 to 8 guides at any one particular time. That's how important you are, and that's how important your life is. And the spirit guides can go range from angels to masters and teachers, ascended masters, and in general guides that are here to give you certain skills and abilities, and then all the way to loved ones in spirit, grandmother or grandfather or somebody that you care about can actually help guide you in your life as you connect with as you connect to them mediumistically. But I have to say the mediumistic skills are what connect you to all your guides, and including the angels. And there's just so many different ways to connect to them. Your soul, your higher self, I I don't always say the soul or the higher self is a guide, but it is a wisdom source, a source of wisdom, a source of understanding, source of inspiration, and it's bigger than your spirit. It's bigger than you. It's your big Huna, and it's your direct connection to source. So that can also be a place of growth, learning, and getting you off the hot seat. Our guides want us to here to think on our own, learn, grow, and develop. So a lot of times our guides will stay in the background and not interfere. As a matter of fact, this is a free will zone, so the guides will actually wait for you to request them, to talk to them, to ask them, "Can you help me?" Or I need somebody to step up here in any form or fashion. But to know about your guides needs on your part, your homework is on your side of the street is to develop a quiet place within yourself and a receptive place within yourself, suspending all skepticism and just allow that small inner voice to come up and speak to you and begin to recognize it. And that small inner voice, you need to just bring your mind down, your beliefs down quietly. Your opinions need to be quiet, and you just need to find a way to somehow allow that inner voice, that subtle information, to speak up to you. And it can be through all kinds of different ways. Synchronicities, it could be through all of the different clairs that you have within yourself. People like to talk about clairvoyance. You can kind of visualize your guide. I feel like I have more clairsentient. I can feel my guides, and clairvoyantly, claircognizance, where I just know they're there, and I just know that what I'm hearing from that inner voice is spot on, is correct. When I'm hearing an inner voice that's giving me all kinds of information, but I'm still in doubt, that's not necessarily a guide. That's something altogether. And knowing who your guides are as you get to know them personally, and there's plenty of ways of doing that. And I teach my people how to do that, is to know that they're your guides and that they are from the highest source, and they're not a pesky spirit that's disincarnate, that's just kind of roaming around and just wants to give their opinion to everybody. And that's a whole little bit of complication there, not to scare you off, but getting to know your guides, all of them, between the guardian angels, masters, teachers, and loved ones, it's all well worth it.
Thank you so much, Nancy.
So thank you, Nancy, for that. I am going to ask Nancy, like I will ask Raina when she's finished talking, and then I'll do the same when I'm finished talking. Make sure that somewhere in the chat to all, you do put how to contact you and like what your website is or stuff. So if people, people know how to get in touch with you. Raina, Tanaya, you're up.
Hi there, thank you. I just want to get my screen so I can see everybody again. Okay, there. Good to drop in with all of you and connect on spirit guides. And I'm really happy to be here with you. I can share about spirit guides from a shamanic consciousness perspective. Because that word shaman can be kind of like hand wavy, and just people will more have an impression than a real grounded sense of this kind of person. I'll just describe what it's been for me through my own path unfolding. And so this is a person who is serving on a multi-dimensional way through indigenous knowledge systems and practices. I descend from multiple lineages, but the lineage that really this has unfolded for me through is my Filipino ancestry. And in my lineage, my ethno-linguistic group that I descend from, this person would be called Catalonan. The more generalized term for Filipinos in this area is Babaylan, and this is the mystical woman or trans woman person who serves multiply at once as a priestess, a healer, a counselor, a seer, teacher, sage, warrior, lifelong learner, to increasingly expand their capacity to just weave divine nature and human consciousness, just in the service of justice, peace, and well-being, in relationship with self, other, community, nature, global community, and the divine. And so this is a path that unfolds for someone, and it's around, developing skills of consciousness through all those arenas, and that's in the path that's constantly just deconstructing one's identity in order to become the face that serves in the moment. And so this sort of path is, it's really about coming really deeply human in order to become the vessel that can ground the charges from spirit. And so it's a path of ecstasy, really, and where one might know or recognize that they're walking this shamanic path. This is what one shamanic guide friend described to me. We just are walking that fine line between death and insanity without actually dying or going insane. But it can be feeling really very painful, in that dying, or really insane making in that insanity. But, we know we're not crazy because we have awareness, their consciousness. And that fine line is really gaining skills of consciousness and just being in the dance of life, right? And navigating, weaving spirit and embodiment and humanity. And so, this path, as I described it as being painful, it's actually an ecstatic path where being in the whole spectrum of human experience, it reveals actually the joy. So as we're walking and we're expanding our capacity to be with difficulty, right? And that also allows us to just learn the ways we can do or be harmed, or people in general, and just allow that to impact us. And that expands the heart field so that we can hold that space for others, and in that space of groundedness in our being as this sort of person who serves this way. And in that groundedness, we are also increasing our capacity to ground charges from the spirit realm. And so, working with spirit guides is kind of a big part of the job description of developing relationship with spirit guides. And so just to, talk about the spirit guides now. These are our spirit connections who are helping us to, on our path to become more and more the highest expression of ourselves in this lifetime. And they will just they can help in a number of ways. They come forward, they're expressions of different aspects of source, right? Coming forward. If you figure source is like the sun, each spirit expression is an aspect of source that is expressing through that sort of spirit guide, and they can come forward that way and to assist you on your life path and projects. Sometimes I found and experienced, two will merge and come forward as a sort of merged, and it's kind of like a flickering presence between the two of them. And I find that, and it can even be more than two, just as a combination, composite of different spirits creating a voice together, and all of them together are, when spirits coming forward, just even their presence could be just the message. Who it is could be just the message. Like for instance, a spirit guide like Hador comes to me when I'm working with people or if I, in my own life, I understand that just even a presence is going to indicate some guidance around connection with the cosmic womb, creativity, and birthing a creation in one's life. And it's, you know, just to talk about her specifically too, it's like that's not just about the cosmic womb. That's not just about for women, but it can also impact men too. She can connect with men as, you know, men also have the space within them to connect to the cosmic womb as well. And so there's womb wisdom there that can be shared, that she has guided me on. And so that's one example, for instance, of it's almost like the presence who comes forward is almost like the diagnostic tool to know what's being communicated. Other examples, you know, some of these spirit guides can come forward and they don't necessarily have a name, but you can ask their name and they'll give you a name, and it might not necessarily be their name. That name might actually be the message they want to share with you, right? The guidance. Or it could be a name that reveals, you know, a path to learning their real name. That's another example. I've also found that there's been instances that past lives, and I don't really go with that term past lives as an accurate term, because it's like multidimensional. It's like an instance, because spirit doesn't live in linear time. So however, you know, they've certain aspects from the oversoul where lifetimes have been, they will come forward too and act as a sort of spirit guide. And spirit guides can also come forward in forms of, you know, our animal allies or stone allies to offer guidance. And you know, in my experience, when I was first really developing a relationship with spirit guides, when I was just very, very young, I understood that there was a compelling force on my body and being that was acting on my body and being to help guide me. And I understood that if I didn't really follow it, then results, really weren't as smooth as if I had just went with the flow and surrendered to the wisdom. And so, and neither way is wrong or right, but you know, it's all part of the journey and unfolding of learning how to be in surrender or be in relationship with your spirit guides as well. And then eventually it just occurred to me that I could just turn around, and I asked one that I was aware of that being there constantly. I'm like, who are you? So, and she came back and said, Kuan Yin. But it was the realization that this could be a two-way conversation, you know, and I developed that form of the relationship. And then that's when the juice really started to happen, because now in conversation, you can see we can develop the relationship intentionally, and guiding our intention with our intention to, you know, start really calling in guides in a sacred way. We have sovereignty. You know, I've had people who were overwhelmed with all kinds of spirit guides showing up at once, and they don't realize that they can be like, yeah, I really only have the capacity to be with this, you know, you. Everyone else needs to get in line, right? So we do have sovereignty, and you know, whoever we put a pause on, it's not a lost opportunity. They will come back if, you know, they're still there for helping us to get back on our path. And another thing is, you know, and learning to develop relationship with your spirit guides. You can establish, you know, like if you have a certain aspect in your life or a project in your life or something that you would like to learn about, you can call in and ask for a spirit guide who's governing that aspect of your life right now, who can assist you, right? And then when they come forward, you can create, you know, ask your questions for specific guidance on how to navigate that in your life. So you create your questions, and when they come in, you just want to just affirm, you know, are you the spirit guide who's governing this aspect of my life right now? And are you working on my highest good? You know, so establishing the connection and that it's basically secure or sacred, right? And in doing this sort of back and forth, also probably want to ask, how do I work with you? They'll share with you ways of developing relationship with them. So you don't really have to know anything going into it. It's a lot of like being in curious, you know, connection and relationship with them. And furthermore, in one of the things that's also like a shamanic important element is we want to take the wisdom and gifts that are being given to us through spirit guidance and anchor it and honor them, those gifts, and anchor it on in a practical way in this realm, right, in our waking lives. And so to establish that in your relationship too helps strengthen your connection. And then there can be like a protective element too, where any nudges that come through from your spirit guides, they're helping you to come away from harm, right? That's another thing. I remember driving down 95 one time and I was just so distracted in my mind. I wasn't actually seeing the road, right? And then all of a sudden I just felt this like cuff upside the head. I got whacked upside the head and like, pay attention, and right? And so my eyes, they just focused on the street in front of me, the highway, and there was like, there's nobody there, right? And then when I was focused, I had this feeling in my whole body through my channels, like I heard metal crunching and I had the feeling of crunching, right? And crushing. And I was like, you know, I grounded into my instincts, understanding what was happening. And I just swish that from my mind because I don't want to be in the law of assumption. You know, if you're assuming an energy, that puts you right in mind for that kind of expression or like happening. So I swish that out. However, it did attune my instincts, attune me to my instincts. And about 15 minutes more down the road, now there's cars, and the SUV in front of me that I was starting to approach, he actually just did a sharp turn right into the next lane. And the car that was driving in that lane flipped over him, and then the SUV flipped behind him, and then I was coming around, and it was just really horrifying. But because of this alignment with spirit and surrendering to the guidance, I basically, there was a protective bubble or something between me, and I was like right there as I was driving by, and you know, there was just that guardianship. And just one thing too, I want to add, with the guardians kind of spirits that come forward, they can kind of come forward really fiercely at first, or maybe appear as a demon or a wrathful form. And this is not necessarily demon like in the terms of like Western culture that bends things as good or evil, but just an energy being who is present with challenge or brings challenge in order to protect you from entering into a gate before you're prepared. So it's helping you to develop skill before you can pass into the gate. And at that point, they become your guardian, right? When you've developed the skill and mastered your way of dancing with life's path.
Thank you, Raina.
Thank you.
Don't forget to put in your put in the thing where people can contact you or reach you. First of all, I always like to start with my relationship with angel guide, you know, with spirit guides. I started doing connection kind of work with the spirit guides in the late 70s when I started doing professional psychic work. That's kind of when I was introduced to the concept, the ideas of the day. When you're talking the 70s and now it's 2024, that's the ideas of the day. Ideas and days change. I evolved through that. And then when I started my own business in the early 90s, or in 90 actually, I think it was probably maybe 4 years in when I started teaching a class, Truth About Angels and Spirit Guides. And in that class of the Truth About Angels and Spirit Guides, I do work with people to help introduce them to any angels that are working with them currently and to their spirit guides. So they can be at least one spirit guide during the class. When I put my contact information in, if you guys, anybody here is actually interested in me running that class via a Zoom, I would certainly put it out there and promote it. At this point, I've had over 100 different classes I've created and taught. And it's kind of when somebody says, I would like you to teach that class again, I put it out there and assume that the right number of people will show up. When I look at angels and spirit guides, I think I fall somewhere between Nancy and Raina. Not that they were opposed, but some of what they brought seemed to have some definitely a wide spectrum. And again, nothing here is anybody being right or wrong. So first of all, there are a lot of people in spirit who will guide you. They do not necessarily, from my perspective, make you their spirit guide. There are a lot of spirits that, spirits are like opinions. There's a ton of them out there, and, they aren't all the most savvy, and they're not all the most knowledgeable, and they don't all have your best interest at heart. Just like you have negative people, you have negative dead people we call spirits. They don't automatically just all become, visions and rays of light. So when we are connecting our energy to anything that is of spirit or energy, something that is not of form, that is tapping into a certain kind of energy or a wisdom, it can have guidance. And like any kind of guidance from somebody in a body, it could be good or bad advice. I think Nancy referenced that sometimes they say something and she goes, yeah, I'm not sure about that one. And so I try to focus more in my work about who are your specific spirit guides. Now, they may be spirit guides to more than one person. And sometimes what happens is, just like Nancy and Raina have spirit guides, she mentioned one of her spirit guides. Her spirit guide may be helping her to help you. That doesn't make that your spirit guide. That's her spirit guide. You can try to offer her a raise, give her more time off, see if she'll leave Raina for you, or if maybe she can do a split check if she's got some extra time in her day. I mean, there's nothing that, you can negotiate if you'd like one of Raina's spirit guides, but, that's kind of Raina's spirit guide or Tanaya's spirit guide. I kind of look at spirit guides fall into categories. We have the spirit guides that come in and out of your life as you're going through different energies in your life. The first thing that I always remember about learning way back when about spirit guides that resonated to me as truth is we get one single spirit guide that has committed their life to us for our whole life, from beginning to end. This is their assignment. This will be the spirit guide that oftentimes may be the one we never meet and maybe the hardest one to meet because they're there and it's almost like they're your parent in spirit. Which is not to say if your parent's dead that that's who they are. It's just, it's got that kind of energy of they're kind of there. They're very aware. They were probably at the table when you were making your soul contracts, which we'll talk about next month. But you were probably sitting down, having a glass of wine, cup of tea, a beer with them and going, yeah, this lifetime, I think I'm going to do that. Yeah, here, I'm on the other side. This period in humanity, shit show. I'm not coming in for it. I'll stay on this side and be a spirit guide for you. You got this. I got your back. Spirit guides, each one of you here can be a spirit guide if you're not incarnated. You have a soul wisdom. When we return to that higher, greater soul, that piece that we spun out of to put into form for this thing we call a lifetime, has a ton of wisdom and has a ton of times and has had a lifetime where they may have been a mystic or a psychic or a healer or the grand poobah of the pineapple culture out of, Thailand, whatever. But we can play the role of a spirit guide to somebody else when we're not incarnated. I do not find it, have not found it unusual that many times I have found that somebody's split apart is their spirit guide in a lifetime. That if it does show up, that it's their spirit guide. It may be their spirit guide that was actually in form at the very beginning part of their life, a treasured grandmother or somebody that was but left very young and then spent the rest of their life. And so, you know, we've done a sip on soulmates, but you know, split aparts are really a whole different thing. And oftentimes people use the terms interchangeable and they're not. You can have a ton of soulmates and none of them may have ever been your split apart. But your split apart may be who that guide is. The other guides kind of come in and out. A lot of times they can have the possibility that they have some kind of energy from one of your past lives that makes them appropriate at that time. It is not a guarantee, but what happens is I have found two things in the work that parallels in my work with past lives and my work with spirit guides, and working with people with spirit guides and with soul contracts. When you kind of, you know, I'm always looking at the larger picture of all of the different things and how they play in the playground together. And the way that, you know, one of the ways that they play in the playground is when we come in and we make these soul contracts and we have these different lifetimes that we're drawing on for various reasons, that if there is somebody from that lifetime that was important that is not incarnate at that time, they can show up and help us bring in that energy of that lifetime that we need to bring in to do what we needed to do with it in this lifetime. So they don't have to parallel, but they can parallel. And I have found on many times that they will parallel, that we'll have a past life and a spirit guide that are pretty cozy. You know, they're friendly. They go out and do, you know, they go out and shop together, get their nails done together. They, you know, so in that and looking at spirit guides, the other thing is that, you know, your spirit guide may identify themselves, may appear in a name or a form, but they are showing you a face. Just like you guys have a face. For fun, I'm going to pick on Jennifer's face. Jennifer has a face that's a Jennifer face in this lifetime. And we have Jordan that has a Jordan face in this lifetime. And Jordan and Jennifer, let's say they check out after they leave this time, they go and I'm looking at the next 50, 60 years. I think I'm going to sit out this powder new humanity. Yep, doesn't work for me. They can come back as Jennifer or Jordan to be a spirit guide, or the soul that they're the larger soul of may come back as Tutankhamun, Prince of Israel, Egyptian edition, or whatever other lifetime they may have had. You know, Jordan may, you know, come back as his previous lifetime as Marilyn Monroe, because that's the wisdom that is needed from that perspective. When they give us a face, they are attaching to a lifetime where they wore that face, unless you're talking angels who have never lived in a human form from birth to death. Or you're talking about somebody, even if you're talking about somebody who's come out of the incarnational cycle, you could be talking to one of the many faces of Mother Mary, but she may not be showing up as Mother Mary, because that may not be the face you need. Now, if you look behind the mask that they showed you, in another lifetime, she was not even named as Mother Mary. And she's like, yeah, I had that lifetime, dude, no big deal. Right? This is the lifetime you need. So this is the lifetime I am giving you wisdom from. So I kind of connect that. And then for the last little, like, you know, I like to bowl, I like to get a strike. So if I can, you know, use this as a central lane to just keep the pins falling with all of the information I'm trying to give you very quickly, you can have spirit guides that are aliens. So you can have an alien that shows up as a spirit guide. In my experience of aliens that show up as spirit guides, and I had one personally show up to me in the early 90s. I'll be very honest, showed up, scared the shit out of me the first time I saw him. I don't think they were really gendered. I gendered them in my mind at the time, but thinking back, they didn't present a gender. But I wake up I am frozen in my bed. I am looking at this thing at the end of my bed. I am going up and going up, and they're about 8 foot tall. And I go, you're not human. And they're like, nope. And they gave me the message that they needed to give me about what I needed to do for what I needed to say I wanted to accomplish right now. And, you know, they showed up in the middle of a dream. They brought me out of the dream. They stood there. They communicated with me. They told me they were keeping their eye on me. They'd be back to visit if I fell off the bicycle in the dream. I was on a bicycle and they were chasing me on the bicycle. Then they caught up. But I knew when I was out of the dream state. I knew when I was wide awake, and I knew I was talking to a spirit guide. And when I finished talking to that spirit guide, my number one focus was to get back on that bike and not fall off again. Because they didn't do anything to hurt me, but I'm just like, have an alien show up at 3 o'clock in the morning is just not my idea of a good time. Little did I know a few years later, I would be trans-channeling a number of different alien races, but that's a story for a different day. So spirit guides are here to guide us. You can ask your spirit guides for help. You know, when we talked about angels, which we did a sip on angels, I think in November, October, I don't remember what, but I know we did one. My perspective of angels has been they actually don't help unless you ask them. You can be cozy with your spirit guides and say, hey, you know, please, you have a full invitation here to give me a nudge if I'm headed in the wrong direction. You can even set up agreements that there are ways that they're going to talk to you. You can say, I'm going to meditate and open up a period for you. You can come to me in my dreams. If a spirit guide comes to you and has a particular significance, and this spirit guide could be one of your ancestors, and it could be somebody, like I said, that was that had been in your life, left, went through their own process of their post-death process. That would be a good sip. We should do a sip on what happens when you die. Make a note. So anyways, but going on from there, and then come back and decide to play your spirit guide. And, you know, it's interesting because when those things happen, a lot of times what goes on is you have a, you know, like if, let's say your grandmother was the spirit guide and your grandmother loved cardinals. And so, but suddenly every time you notice a cardinal, you are like, oh, grandma's here. Well, if grandma's your spirit guide, it means that cardinal is really trying to point you out to something that you and grandma as your spirit guide has been talking to you about. But remember, she's appearing as the face of grandma, but she has the wisdom of the whole backup soul. Now, if you have somebody that has died, has not passed on, is still hanging around, they're still human just without a body. You can be human without a body, and they're just being human without a body, and they're contacting you, that is not a spirit guide. There may be somebody trying to guide you from spirit, but they're not coming from a place of a higher wisdom. And that's the difference. And that's when you talk about getting flooded with a lot of spirits, so there's a lot of energy, especially if you light that little light of mine, you know, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. You turn on that psychic abilities to go up higher, work on them, focus on them, say, this is what I'm here to do. I want to develop them. You're going to pick up every homeless spiritual person in 3,000 miles that want to come play with you. And you might not want to be playing with them. They might be homeless for a reason. So just keep that in mind. Delineate, make sure you're using protection, you're using shielding, that you understand how your psychic abilities work. And as you meet spirit guides, put them through the test. Make sure they're really spirit guides and not guides that are just talking to you because they're bored. And they now, you know, you can listen because you turned up that psychic ability. Or that there's some kind of, you know, a wise ass guide who just thinks it's funny to tell you to go left when they know you should go right. That can happen. So knowing your spirit guides is a powerful, powerful, powerful way to get additional guidance, support, and insight to be living the life you came in here to live. They can definitely be a tool on your tool belt that helps you have massive success in achieving what you came here to do in a lifetime. But you want to understand them, you want to vet them, you want to work with them, and you know, want to get at least 3 forms of identification. Sound good? I'm
Thank you,
gonna,
Kevin.
yep, and I'm gonna go ahead and put my stuff if people
If
want to.
anybody has a question, if you want to raise your hand, if you want to unmute, I know our panelists can give us more wisdom. Go ahead, Miss Jennifer.
Hi, Mindy. Thank you. So I am wondering, I have taken just numerous classes on trying to connect with my spirit guides. And I think I'm blocked. I don't know. I feel like when I'm in bed at night, or if I have 4 birds, if I'm in the room that I have 4 birds in, my birds will just, suddenly see something and all look in a certain direction. And like, I know that there's something there. I know that, spirits have been all around me my whole life, but I've not really connected because I don't feel like there is that connection. I do feel like I'm that beacon, right? That like I'm that little light that's shining. And spirits, like they come and they go. And yeah, but as far as connecting with my personal guides, I don't know why I can't seem to do that. Am I blocked? And
Yeah.
if so, how do I unblock?
So this is what I get, and then I'll see if either Nancy or Raina want to weigh in.
Yeah.
Well, so I immediately heard trauma. You have a trauma, and you can take all the classes until the cows come home. Until you heal the trauma, you're not going to open up to it. That's definitely, whether it's with me or somebody else, everybody does different things. You have to get rid of the trauma to open up to it. So there is a trauma that lies there somewhere that keeps them blocked. There is also a difference between being a ghost magnet and being a somebody that is opened up to disincarnate energies, because they fall into 2 different categories.
Yeah.
And so the first thing would be to determine, are you, you have this, that they swarm to you because your light's on, but the trauma is saying the lights are on, but nobody's home. Or are they drawn to you because they're trapped souls that recognize that you can recognize their existence, but you don't know how to help them. And
Exactly. Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be an either or. It can be an and in both. It can be that you are both a ghost magnet and that you are somebody that is very in tune with spiritual energies. And the funny thing is, you can be a ghost magnet and not necessarily be, what I call a medium. Medium has, medium, when I first started in the spiritual psychic community, whatever, 45 years ago, medium had a pretty limited definition. This is what was a medium. You talk to dead people. That's what a medium was for a long time. In the last 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years, there are lots of uses of the word medium that I would never have associated with medium. Again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but from my perspective, you can be a medium that is not necessarily somebody that knows how to connect with ghosts or cross them over. And a medium, in all the original definitions I got in the good old days under the covered wagon by the fireplace, kind of also defined medium as somebody that talked to people who had recently walked. It was usually people that were more like people that you knew in life, or people that were, had a certain cycle, versus you're talking to anybody without a body. And now some people say, it's like psychic medium. I still am confused why anybody ever uses the term psychic medium. And I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it's like, If you're not psychic, you can't be a medium. And if you're a medium, you're
Right.
psychic. It's redundant. I don't understand. But I know that.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it got popular. And so
Yeah.
everybody grabbed onto it as a, oh, well, I'm not just a medium, I'm a psychic. And I'm like, duh. That's like kind of like saying, well, I'm not just human, but I'm male or I'm female or
Right.
I'm both.
Right.
So I don't always understand it, but I try to respect that that's where it comes from. But when I say
Yeah.
strictly, this is, are you a medium? Are you talking to people that want to talk to their relatives, that want to talk to people? Or are you
No.
doing somebody that, are you somebody that has that energy to talk to spirits? Are you, a trans channel or a channel? And then you're moving more in my view as spirit guides and as angels and stuff like this. So and words can be tricky, but that's it. That's what I got. You got a trauma. We remove the trauma. You're going to be able to open up and also in that determine, are you 1, 2, or all 3?
Yeah, I don't think that I'm a medium or a psychic. I think that I'm just open.
Okay.
And I do feel that my father is around me all the time, and I feel like I connect with my father.
Yep.
And I know that there are guides. I'm very clumsy, and I know that somebody is constantly, keeping me from falling down my stairs. And I know that, I'm getting help here and there with that, but no, I would never even pretend to be a media. That's not who I am. I think I'm just open and the real and yeah, I mean, if there's something that I'm supposed to be doing with that, like helping souls or spirits, I'm, happy to do that. It's more, how do I really connect with which you spoke about. So thank you. And the trauma, I mean, is that from childhood or is that from past life
Um,
or both?
it could be both, and it could be, on these kind of SIP panels.
Yeah.
I ask my practitioners not to go into like full-blown psychic readings for one individual person.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not asking that at all. Yeah, no, I'm sorry if
So,
that's
sometimes if we have the trauma in a past life, we recreate the trauma in this life because that's how we then heal it, because it's in this life. Because if it was,
yeah.
So I would say that would be part of the journey of discovery.
Okay.
The journey of discovery is, what is the trauma? When did the trauma happen? What is it attached to? But I will just say I would be very surprised if it did not have a this life component.
Of this life component.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
would not limit it to that. Nancy, Raina, after my
Thank you.
not shutting up, do you have, either one of you have anything you'd like to add?
No, that
Nancy.
was great. Thank you.
Great. I'd like to add something a little bit different with what Dr. Kevin said, and this is for everybody in general, not just Jennifer, and wishing and wanting a spirit guide to show up or to hear your guardian angel or to get an answer can shut you down just because you're pushing so hard against the energy of it. It's not that you're blocked, it's just that your expectations and your need and what and how you're setting yourself up receptively, you're pushing against the very thing that you want. So those Chinese torture tests, you put your fingers in them, and the harder you pull, you can't get out of them, but you have to relax, surrender. So I want to talk about surrendering so you can hear your guides. First of all, surrender to the effortlessness of listening to your guide or feeling your guide is as simple as breathing in and out. And if you could sit quietly for a couple of minutes, just breathing out. And I like to invite my guide to come and touch my hand, to the top of my hand, or just feel a warmth there. If it happens, it's great. If it doesn't happen, it's okay. But that's when I know that I'm really like I am intending to be in a receptive place to hear my guide. And I don't expect an answer to any of my problems. I'm just setting the intention to connect. And then once that connection happens, feel what it feels like. And then pay attention to where in your body did it come from. It's not from your mind.
Right.
It's maybe from your heart, maybe it's from your left foot, or maybe it's from, it's our bodies are our strongest links to our souls, to the realm, psychic realm, whatever you want to call it, to that realm of higher being. It's through our bodies, not through our minds. It's
Mhm.
through our senses that come up from our gut, which is the no word senses that just move up to your heart, which, and then it resonates. It's like, I got a thought here that's really resonating, but it doesn't match the thought I had before. And that's when you know you're being touched by information that's a little bit beyond what you were thinking of, and then act on it, trust it, and just baby steps. If you have something, an idea or something impresses you, test it out. See if it works. Keep it small, not the big test. And I was
Yeah.
reading this fellow went and interviewed a bunch of inmates for violent crimes, and he wanted to know, did anyone ever have a feeling about not to do the crime they were about to do? Just did you get a feeling for just a flash second, and it was actually opposite of what you were intending to do? And a lot of them said yes. And one guy came up with a story that said he had a history of violence, and he just blew up and hurt someone real bad, and he was and just be, and he had that sense of don't do this, but his emotions just took over and did it. So there he was in jail, totally despairing. My life is totally gone. I've ruined myself. I've ruined my life. My wife is gone. My kids are gone. And the third day he was in prison, this huge light showed up. His guardian angel, just light, just in undulating light, and the guardian angel just looked at it with so much compassion, totally the last thing he would have expected, and said, I love you, I'm here with you, and then went away, didn't come back. But 3 months later, he felt nothing, experienced nothing, and then the angel kind of came back later and said, hey, and he says, where have you been? He says, well, you never asked me. You got to ask me to come back. So that intention, setting your intention to connect is the first thing. And then from that intention, allowing yourself to receive, however it comes through. It can come through in the darndest ways. I'm going to tell you another story. I was running late this morning. My whole day had been flipped around because the doctor's appointment they switched it. She can't come now. She has to come near, and I had to change appointments with my clients. And I had to go to this appointment. It was very important, and it made me late for everything. And I even got late to the actual doctor's appointment that got switched. And then I was late leaving because this woman wanted to chat me up. And then my next appointment, which is my hairdresser, which is way more important than any doctor's appointment, your hair appointment. I went and I was late. And they book, they were busy over there, so I was like almost 20 minutes late. So I didn't know if they'd even be able to see me, but they figured it out. But as I was going down the highway, which was crawling, absolutely crawling, I was getting frustrated. It's like, oh my, how did I screw up this day? And I got past this 4-car accident, and they were all jammed and destroyed. The car, I don't know that everyone left that accident alive. And it just sobered me right up. But I was still kind of wound up. And then my beautician set me down with the hair. She goes, you don't realize, Nancy, that could have been you in the accident, but because you were
running behind,
you were behind the accident instead of part of it. And I could have had a VA. I didn't realize, think of it that way. And so many times we get guidance, but we're too busy here to really take in the guidance. So I say, review your day. You've asked for guidance on something, and you didn't think you got it. You don't think but I want you to review your day or review your week and look at what were the synchronicities, what were new thoughts that popped into my head that I wasn't paying attention to, and how did my body feel at different parts. And then the other thing that we can also use is tarot or inspirational cards. You can use pendulums. You can use automatic writing. So you know what I mean? Let the information come in lots of different ways, and believe it, trust it. But don't have to blind believe it, test it out by acting on it, by playing with it. We all have psychic senses. We don't, calling yourself a psychic is like, oh no, it's like, we all have intuitive superpower senses. Some of them are stronger than the others, and just use them and test them out, and love yourself enough to do it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too.
And I'm going to
Thank you.
I'm going to have Tanaya speak in a minute. I do want to just put out that we did do a psychic step, and you can find it on our YouTube channel. If I think it's there now, because we put them out immediately. But it was a panel discussion about psychic abilities, which any of you may find helpful as well, since this all crosses over. So I just thought I would let you know that that's there for the having.
Thank you.
Tanaya.
Thank you.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
Thank you for your sharing. There are the things I wanted to offer connection to. First is your body is your instrument of sensing and knowing, right? It's the closest to your knowing, and the left brain, the thinking brain, is the last stop on the the neurological circuit, right? And so that's one thing I wanted to offer. And another thing is there's this idea of releasing any sort of notions or definitions that you've received from out there, what connection feels like, or how you know you're in connection, because you have your own way of knowing and connecting.
Yes.
You have your own. And also to realize, we have relational neurobiology. We're wired for connection, right? Not just with each other, but also with spirit. And biologically, it's in your heart center and in your face. And so reacquainting yourself to what even connection feels like, just even with yourself. If you put a hand on your heart, right? Now feel into that, like, how does it feel to have your heart be held by your hand? Or how does it feel to have your hand hold a heart, right? And just sort of like rediscover this way of knowing connection, even just with yourself first. And then there's this idea also with releasing any preconceived notions of definitions that have come to you from out there, into the place of mystery and unknowing, right? And allow knowing to arise through your body, right? And like I said, your body is your instrument of sensing. So it's gonna see where any senses are coming and pinging or calling for attention within your experience, right? And so in this area of walking with mystery, it's also, like, let it be play, having a curiosity type of approach, right? And what unfolds, and just also to touch back, and offering connection to yourself. This place in our heart center is where we take a lot of hits in our life, right? And so offering connection there, and even the act of breathing, and concentrating your breath in there, it's gonna start opening up and unraveling tensions in there, which is where all the sort of like, chronic tension is where our traumas live. And so paying attention wherever you have chronic tension, right? And whenever you have a sensation of tension or resistance in your body, ask for the body's wisdom on it. And like I said, our bodies are closest to our knowing. And so it's sending information to our brain. 80% of our nerve fibers are calming nervous system nerve fibers. Our vagal nervous system is, it's assigned to moving energy from our body to our brains, right? And 20% of thinking brain down. So we want to pay attention to all the wisdom right here living within us, and just seeing, like welcome tension as much as you can, because we don't know what's going to be bringing up, right? And so if it winds up being something overwhelming for you, reach for connection for someone who can be in support and with you, releasing those tensions, and realizations and wisdoms, like, what do I need? What do you need? Right? And it's going to starting this body dialogue will help open up, the clearing of whatever might be in your body that's holding you in tension, that also might be, occupying more processing space than can be freed up to feel your vitality and the natural part of you that already can nurture connection to wholeness.
Okay. Yeah, that's beautiful as well. Thank you. I hope it's for everybody too. I mean, I hope what I'm asking resonates for everybody in the group, that it's not just me. I really hope that, but thank you all. That was super, super helpful. Everybody's words, much appreciated. Thank you.
Any other questions before we do our wrap down? Because we can go as late as 5:30, but we're not going to go to 5:30 if you guys have questioned us out.
I have a question, if you can hear me. You mentioned that not every spirit that's there is necessarily a spirit guide, and some of them aren't even necessarily there to help you. They may just be mischievous. How do you tell the difference?
Good question.
That is a really good question. And I ask myself that all the time. I get guidance. I'm like, can you bring it to me again? How do I feel about it? Is it riling me up and making me more angry? Or am I finding peace and calm within myself? Is it calming me down? So how am I reacting to it? You don't have to hear everything. You don't have to take in or believe everything that you're hearing from spirit. Testing it out is I think a really good idea. If it's a mischievous spirit and you can really sense it kind of coming through to you, you say, are you from God? Are you from my soul? Are you from my highest self? And can you show me? Kind of show me. And I also, when I get guidance, I ask for it to come to me in 3 different ways. The magic of 3 is probably from the little Wiccan practice. I don't know what Tanae would say about that, but I ask for it in more than one package so that I can understand it. So I'll look for synchronicity. I'll look for how I feel in my body, and sometimes I'll look for it in my my tarot or my angel cards, or I'll use some other form or a pendulum kind of thing. And clear and meditation into a point where you just move into a higher place, or you're just sitting. I love the angels. Angels are my buddies, and I ask Archangel Michael to make sure that this is the clearest and highest message possible. And because I've been getting a lot of funny answers lately about doing something that feels very counterintuitive. I can say it. And I've been guided lately to do some counterintuitive stuff. And I am not quite sure why I'm being guided to do that. I'm getting little tiny bits of signs that, but no explanations. So I've really been putting it out on the line saying, explain more. I need more information. I can't read the whole memo. Does that make sense, Angela? Thanks for it. It's a really good question.
Raina, do you want to weigh in on it?
Sure, yeah. Thanks, Angela. So one of the things to do that I think of is establishing my sovereignty with a sovereignty statement and the sovereignty of my space. And not only is that establishing like the sacred space, but it's also clarifying my own energy, dropping my root down, right? And then to be really clear in myself and feel the clarity of what's coming in as well. And if there's any kind of sort of confusion or trickery, I mean, like, trust your skepticism for a minute on it. If it doesn't feel like it's right for you, like I said, you have sovereignty. And if, what was I gonna say? I don't know, that just dropped away. But the idea of like, you're feel into your body for the truth, and because like I said, that's the closest to your knowing, and it's wired for connection, and you can trust your body's wisdom, and the more you can clarify in there, the more you can feel the vitality of it, rather than like the bogged down things, like the mundane lives that's creating lack of clarity, right? And so you might even feel for inside your gut, if do you feel like a no? Is there a contraction, right? That's probably not the right thing for you right now, or at all. If you feel expansion, right, then that could be the a yes, right? And if there's like, I don't know, it could be like, that's a no for right now, right? And so, you know, if it is for you, if there's something up in your system that's making it such that you can't quite, you know, ground it as a connection that, you know, is true. And if that's, and if it really is a true thing, the opportunity will come around again. You could say, I'm not in a place for this yet, you know, or you just be like, no. Yeah, I think that's what's coming to me right now. Thank you.
Okay. So to me, there's very clear steps you can take. First is shielding. And especially anybody that's empathic should be doing shielding. But you can do shielding, then you do a protection and intention statement. As you do your protection statement, I kind of in my mind think that may fall towards what Raina was called as sovereignty, but I don't know that to be true. But in the protection and intention statement, we have the ability to put the universe on notice, so to speak. Now, the third thing is that you do want to pay attention. And, you know, one of the things that when I do work with people, especially anybody that wants to do psychic as part of their professional work, I've mentored and taught and worked with a lot of people that have gone on to do psychic as part of the work that they do, whether it's being a professional psychic or the healing work they do or whatever. And when you do this, the thing that gets us most in trouble is being unclear or wishy-washy, or even being internally conflicted about the question we're asking. Because one thing is if you ask spirit a question, they will always answer it, but they're going to answer the question you ask. And there's a great quote that says, the devil won't lie to you, they just won't tell you the whole truth. And so if you're looking to your spirit guides or you're looking for some kind of insight or guidance, and there's something you want to hear, there are ways to say things that aren't exactly a lie, but lead you to hear what you wanted to hear anyways. Which is why when I do a psychic session with anybody, even if I'm doing 40 in a row at a psychic evening or fair or whatever, every time I go, as part of my protection and intention statement, don't ask questions you don't want answers to. Because I'm going to answer, but you might not like it. And sometimes what I've found, and this could be true working with your spirit guides, with your angels, whatever, is somebody will ask a question and I'll go, I can get you that answer, but that's not really what you want to know. You're not asking the right thing. But that takes time and experience, and along with practicing with your psychic abilities. But you can, if you're shielded, if you do your protection and intention statement, and then if you pay attention, you will feel on some level. You know, and both these practitioners referred to that feeling, and then you can kind of clarify. And one of the things is somebody who is dead but has not moved on and is not with their higher self can very easily lie to you. And I've had that happen when I've done work, and I've looked at somebody and gone, they're lying to you. You asked them a question and they answered it, but they're lying. And it was just a knowing. And then I asked my psychic and I got the answer, and I got why they were lying. You know, so the trouble with spirit guides versus getting guided by spirits, there's a whole huge spectrum you have to be careful of. But just getting guided by spirits, shielding will help, protections will help, and then, you know, any kind of indication at all in your body, in your thought process, even suddenly they're saying something and you knock your glass of water over and you go, shit, that's an interruption. Wait a second, what was going on when I knocked that glass of water over? Because that water's been there for like hours and I've never touched it. Like I had to move over to knock it over. In fact, I wasn't close enough to knock it over. That could definitely be a pay attention right now. You're getting yourself bullshitted. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that not spiritual language? I hate it when I do that. So
Use the language of your spirits.
the language of my spirit. Yes. So did that help, Angela?
That did. Thank you. Oh,
Okay. So I'm going to ask each of my fellow panelists to do a little wrap down. Then I'm going to wrap down, and then we're going to return you to your day. I have a kitchen that is halfway between a lasagna, 2 meatloaves, and the rest of my cooking for the week. So I will be going back and feeding not only the soul, but the body. And my husband's body, so he's not grouchy. Nancy, would you like to start with your I'm going to call them brief wrap downs for the three of us, so we all can avoid being too loquacious.
Your personal spiritual guidance, which starts with your soul and your highest self, is the biggest gift that you can give yourself. And we want to work with your highest and best, and stay in the sovereign space, stay in that. I'm moving and growing and learning here, and I'm wanting to understand myself as a child of God, of a loving child that is loved beyond belief and beyond what you could even imagine. That is a real positive movement forward for yourself, and it's a lot of support. You can do it. It takes baby steps. It's really worth it. It's the best gift you can give yourself, and also understanding how energy and the nature of spirit, other spirits work around you, is in your best benefit too. And it's not always for you. It's not always your side of the street. We're not here to rescue spirits. We're here to grow and learn. So having thought about all that, your spirit, your guidance from your highest source, your soul and angels and everything, great allies. Go for the allies.
Raina.
Yes, just want to add a note that you all have an inherent, innate ability to connect to the part of you that knows how to nurture connection to wholeness already, right? And I just want to thank everybody here. It's been really beautiful to be with you all and drop into connection with you all and have this beautiful discussion. And thank you to Nancy and Kevin and Mindy. I really have appreciated spending time with you.
Thank you. Yeah. Kevin, you're muted.
I think I just unmuted myself, didn't I?
Yeah,
Okay. There we go. I mute and I disappeared a couple of times because I'm standing up and I sit down when other people are talking. And I mute because I'm always fidgeting with something. I don't want to be distracted, just so you understand. So first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming. I want you to remember that, you came in with an arsenal of success. You came in with a big, beautiful, will never happen the way that you put it out to happen life. It's going to change. It's going to have curves. It's going to have potholes. It's going to have highs and lows that your poor little soul, when it was creating the schematic for this life, never could have anticipated. We have this wonderful thing called free will, and it throws everybody a curveball. It throws the curveball a curveball. So with that said, know that one of your arsenals is your spirit guides. And again, those spirit guides can be angels, but you don't have to have an angel as a spirit guide to work with the angels. You can work with the angels, but they may not be your spirit guide, but it does not stop you. You can double dip. It is allowed. And you can call on for lots of guidance. Part of this is always to guide you to become who you're here to be, to become your best, unique, individual self. It's never about being anybody else. And it's never about being what anybody else thinks you should be or expects you to be. It's about your individual journey. Your spirit guides will have a unique perspective on that, and they can help you sometimes clear the eyes out of the gook of what the world wanted of us, of what our parents wanted of us, of what our church wanted of us, and all of the other piles and piles of mud that have got in the way of us remembering we are a bright, shiny coin being that is here to be light, to bring light, and that we have a purpose in every lifetime. And those spirit guides can help that purpose. Again, on 317, we're doing soul contracts. I know that Nancy and Raina are joining us. We may or may not have one more panelist. We try to stay between 3 and 4 panelists so the panelists all can express themselves, but there are plenty of times for questions, and that we make sure that you guys that come can get it. Mindy, where is the best place for them to find out about the next SIP and how to sign up for it? Or
Stay in touch on our Facebook page, because we will have all of that information. Or if you are in our New Hampshire Metaphysical meetup group, we'll also be posting that information is up there as well. So those are the 2 places where you can connect: meetup and Facebook.
Yep. And at some point, the New Hampshire Metaphysical Facebook page will be changing names, and we don't know exactly when that's happened. So you can always go to Kevin Ross Emery. It's a Facebook page. It will get posted there. And if you go to kevinrossemery.com and you click on the be part of my mailing list, you will get notified with everything that I'm doing, plus whatever the upcoming SIPs are. We do have a SIP YouTube channel with the old SIPs on it that you can go and look at if you enjoyed this SIP. And outside of that, Mindy, have I forgot anything?
Nope, that's it. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time and your input. It was a joy, and this will be up next month. Take care.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you so much.
Very nice.
Always fantastic to see everybody. Enjoy your dinner.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Sounds delicious, Kevin.
It does. I'm jealous.
Yep, it's going to be the food for the week. I'm making big batches of everything.
There, how you do it.
Scratch.